Hello and welcome to today's League of Legends esports video where we're going to cover the LPL and who was a free agent. Yesterday I did a video where I went over all 17 teams and showed who was under contract. That included LDL players. And here is the list of players that are free agents. Or I couldn't find contract information on Leaguepedia about. I understand you might not be able to read support, but I won't lie, support is definitely the weakest role when it comes to free agency, so you're not missing much. Now, just as a disclaimer, these players are ranked, at least by my opinion, and after like the upper level of players, you kind of get into murky water where it's just like, I mean, there's not a big difference between these players, and it'll become a money thing in situations like that. And when it comes to how many jobs I consider open, outright is if a player is signed at all to the team. So yes, I would assume that there is a scenario where a team would go with their LDL player and promote them. Do I think that that is the right move? Not necessarily, but it is a scenario. And then I also have the upper level where I think the maximum amount of jobs might be available based on like LDL players being there in that spot. And then there are just some teams that don't have free agents right, at that spot. So, and we may bring in a player to compete with another, like, oh, well, I mean, an extreme example like Wan Feng is, or sorry, An actually. Wan Feng is pretty safe. But for An, for example, for support on Weibo, he is under contract, but he played poorly at times. Would I say his job is, I mean, could they bring a competition for him? Yes, but is it wide open and anybody could be signed there? Probably not. You won't invest a ton of money into that, but yeah. So top lane, we have quite a few good players. The LPL 17 teams is what's going to happen, right? You've got Bin. I love Bin. I think Bin is the best top laner in the world. A lot of people disagree with me. I don't really care. I think Bin is cracked. The Shy I have as number 2. The Shy can be the best top laner in the world when he wants to be, and other times he can be very, very, very bad, and that's why he's number 2. I know a lot of people love the Shy, and I'll acknowledge when he wants to play, he plays well, but when he doesn't want to play, he loses the team the game, and frankly, that matters. Breathe is number 3. I liked what Breathe did at Worlds. I thought he got better over time. Of course, he did hit a wall, but he is a relatively young player, so we'll see what happens. By the way, top lane, there are 5 openings outright where teams do not have anybody signed, and I could see a world where 11 jobs are up for grabs, and there is, I think, 14 top laners here, plus LDL players that I don't have listed on here, LCK players, because the LPL will import Koreans, so that is a thing. Xiaolahu is number 4, and that's probably going to upset some people because I have Xiaolahu so high, but I really, really thought he did very well in spring. He is a player that coming into summer I expected to take a next step, and he didn't. They brought in Summit, and I mean, I really hope Xiaolahu gets a shot somewhere on a decent team next year and can recover. I think that he is probably, like, bang for your buck, one of the better players on this list. Ale was good at times, other times not so much. Flandre, looking a little long in the tooth. Maybe he's getting towards the end of his career. Does he keep playing? Does he not? I mean, does he take a pay cut at this point in his career? It's hard to really say. I could see a world where he kind of just takes a step back. I think that there is value in a player that may not, he's not going to dominate lane, but he can do anything. He can do anything, and I feel like that is valuable to a team that may have a younger nucleus of players, may not necessarily think they're going to win Worlds, but may want to make a run at Worlds and say, hey, if we have Flandre in top lane, can he help with a young mid laner, a young jungler or something, and help bring the team along? I think Flandre has a lot of value in that way. Zoom, I think Zoom is really good. It's just hard to get a gauge on him because he was all over the place last year, but not super young either. Summit, Summit played well at times, but he's very limited. He can only play carries. The Gragas showed some promise as well. That's like the only tank that I really feel he can play. There are rumors that he may go back to the LCS, so, or even the LCK, I guess he could do as well. So I don't think he's going to be back in the LPL next year. Cube, I like Cube a lot. I don't think he is overly great, but I like Cube's champion pool. He pulled out Nasus. He pulled out Shen, I think. Shanji did as well. But Cube has a champion pool that I love to watch. I don't really care how it goes. I just think that the willingness to do things like that is really fun and awesome. I hope he's in the league next year. I don't really, you know. Once we got past, like, I would say once we get past Summit, the players become limited, right? Cube, I don't know how it's going to go. I just like that he does weird stuff. Summit, I guess, is limited as well. So Zoom and Summit is probably the line. Rich, also limited. I thought that for Victory 5, he was a problem. He needed to play weak side. Sometimes they did not do that. Will he get an LPL spot or an LCK spot? Probably. I think because the win-loss ratio is probably going to play a role. It shouldn't. Win-loss ratio matters nada to me. I don't care how many games you win versus how you lose. In a team game, it's how you play your role, how you play your, what you're supposed to do. What your objective is. So, and of course your objective is to win, but if you got inting players on your team, you can only do so much. So Rich, weak side. After that, we get into like the really nitty gritty there. Zhao Zhang, I only saw some of his games. Him and excuse me, sorry. Zhao Zhang and Hoya. Hopefully that wasn't too dank. I apologize if I haven't had a cough that loud, I think, ever on a video, so my apologies. Zhao Zhang and Hoya kind of went back and forth. Hoya did not look that good with Damwon last year. Did not look that good with Thunder Talk, but I really am a big fan of Thunder Talk. Last year, I thought that they were a fun team to watch in summer. I thought that analytically they looked very good. They just came so short of making the playoffs. Zhao Zhang was better. Chelsea and Fearness, neither one. I thought both stunk for LGD. LGD was a tire fire. So when it comes to top lane, I mean, there are 5 jobs. At minimum, up to 11. So you're looking at anywhere between Flandre and Rich, or, in one of these 4. Hoya, I think, is LCK, obviously, from Damwon. So he might just go back to the LCK. But maybe through Zhao Zhang, you could see them recycled. And then again, there are players that are going to be coming up that are going to just take spots. They're going to be cheaper. Teams are going to make decisions. So there's that. In the jungle, a little more, I mean, it's not as deep, the jungle class. We've got 5 jobs open and up to 10 jobs up for grabs, at least in my opinion. And there are quite a few good players on here, definitely. I won't lie, I have bias for this, and people are going to not like it, but like I said, I don't care. Kanavi, I think, is the best jungler in the world. Him and Canyon, I just go back and forth, depending on the day. Canyon's Kane and pulling it out and doing what he did was super impressive. And going into summer, I had Canyon as my number 1. So it's like, depending on the day, Kanavi, Canyon, 1A, 1B situation. Kanavi might go back to Korea. There are a lot of rumors of him going to the LCK. He may be the highest paid player up for grabs. Highest paid free agent. Tien, a lot of people are going to say, well, Tien's choked the last couple worlds, so that's going to hurt his value. And it's like, a lot of these teams would benefit from getting Tien in the jungle. The fact of the matter is, he gets the team to Worlds. He does a really good job. He's a former world champion. He is a good player. Like, I'm not blaming Tien for Top's issues when Jackie Love, sure, okay, whatever. The bug is not Jackie Love's fault, but Jackie Love has int moments. And we'll get to that, right? So the Wayward at points was being benched towards the end of the split, and do you really think those problems stopped at Worlds? like Wayward was an inexperienced player that struggled at times. So to blame it all on Tien, I think is outrageous. So I think Tien's a solid player. Next, this is where people are going to kind of, the next four here. SFM, SFM is one of my favorite players. So I have him third. I understand that he kind of upset some people, but I think SFM is a really good player. I think in a carry meta, like in this meta that they just played at Worlds, SFM would have thrived. And he didn't get there, right? He couldn't play the meta that was in summer to get to Worlds to be able to shine. I think that he can be one of the better junglers in the LPL for sure. He could even import out, go to the LCS or somewhere, LCS, or, if he went back to Vietnam, he'd obviously be the best player in Vietnam. Outside of Shogun, if Shogun doesn't leave. Wei, this is the thing, like, Wei did very well at MSI. He's a super young player. So who am I going to invest in, SFM or Wei? It depends on what you want to do. If you're going for 1 year, like, hey, we're going to put the Shy, SFM, Doinb, I don't know, Jackie Love, and Ming together, right? Let's just say random 5 that are older players. Well, Jackie Love isn't older, but, like more experienced players off of this list. Rookie in place of Doinb, it doesn't matter, flip a coin, scout. I could see that because you're looking at a situation where, okay, we're going for it, get the best players right now. Wei, long-term, better investment. So Wei is probably better if you want to go that direction. Very good player, obviously. Bechuan is the bang for your buck player, similar to Jalahu, both former FPX players. Bechuan, I thought, for Thunder Talk was an absolute stud. I thought he was, I couldn't sing his praises enough. I really hope he follows through on that, because even with FPX, I thought he was really good, and that's why FPX did not, is one of the reasons why FPX did not take the next step I expected them to do from spring to summer. If they'd kept Bechuan, that team's in the playoffs. Honestly, I think that they make a good run in the playoffs because of it. Honestly, any team getting Bechuan is probably set. Karsa, I'm a little concerned with why he didn't play a lot towards the end of the split. Actually, all summer long, they were taking games off of Karsa's plate, and I don't know if it was because they wanted to get a better look at Jia Lao Bao or what, but Karsa may be at a point now where he's done, whether that's going back to the PCS or that's importing out to the LCS. I don't know. I just know that I think Karsa's time on top teams is done. Layan, the fact that Layan still draws bans for his Nidalee is insane. So that has value in and of itself. So Layan is a solid player that's middle tier probably. Junjia, rumored to be going out, whether it was the LEC, LCS, instead of being on a bottom tier LPL team. I thought Junjia looked good towards the end of the split, brought EDG back from the brink. Klid is the reason why FPX stunk. I think Klid is done. Klid could go back to the LCK and be on a bottom team if he wants to. He's a good example for PSG, honestly. Hacker, I was not impressed with. Shadow, go back to the LEC. And Beshang, I'm not overly impressed with Beshang. I didn't think with Team Wii was that good, but it is hard to thrive on a cesspool like Team World Elite in 2022. So, jungle, a lot of fun players there. Mid lane. Mid lane, like top lane, has a lot of talent on it. A lot of nameplates, right? We have to take that into account. Nameplate value. So there are 3 openings outright. Up to 11 up for grabs, depending on what teams want to do with their LDL players. I would say there are, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 players on here that I wouldn't say aren't LPL worthy. Obviously some are older and maybe they've hit the wall. Maybe they could, import out. Knight, I have above Rookie. Knight, I think, is the second best mid laner in the world behind Chovy. I thought he did very well for top, like Tien. I'm not blaming him for top's issues. So Knight is obviously the hottest commodity in mid. Rookie behind him, rookie nameplate and all. Like, he did very well in summer. He did very well in spring. Rookie is one of the most talented players in the world. So does he deserve the money? Yes, he does. So Rookie is probably going to get a good contract, or he might stay at Victory 5, depending on what rumors you read. Doinby. So Doinby, like S of M, has nameplate value. Is a good player. Is he as good as he once was? I don't think so. But the value he provides in draft with experience and being able to fill out comps, like, that's exceptional. I don't think, like, obviously people are going to say Faker and he's been around forever. So this is like, this is not a player versus player debate when it comes to overall skill. Faker's the best player of all time. Doinby, I think, has the most meta diversity right now, like, outside of Faker ever. Like, the guy pulled out Nautilus mid and made it meta. The Rise builds from this past year were due to Doinby, like, bringing it out on the stage. Like, I know everything originates in solo queue, but whoever has the gonads to go and bring it out in pro, I mean, you're going to get credit for it. And obviously some solo queue guy should, or individual should get that credit, but it is what it is. So Doinby, I mean, Doinby should be on a team, one of the better teams, maybe similar to the Flandre situation. You're looking at a player that's filling out a roster that's young, that's making a Worlds run, not necessarily to win, but to grow and have growth. Yagao, at Worlds, like, obviously people know I had Yagao ranked pretty low in my mid lane rankings, better than where he should have been. You know, you get to the next few here, I would say the next 4 mid laners, it's kind of, what do you want? Yagao, very limited champion pool, but what he plays, he can play very well. Okay, well, what if the meta is completely different in spring? What's he going to look like? Is he going to look like JDG looked in spring? I'm not going to blame, I can't think back to how those games actually went. So to blame Yagao for that, I'm all over the place with that. So Yagao, 4th best mid, he should get a good job. Xiaohu, similar to the Doinby situation, except his accolades speak for themselves. Xiaohu is the only, how many players really have won in 2 roles when it comes to top and mid, excluding support? How many people have won in 2 roles, a major event, like Worlds or MSI? So Xiaohu's a very, very, very storied player. He should get a good job. Scout should get a good job. Yes, he got ran over by Zeka in Game 5, but he's a former world champion. He could go back to the LCK and get a good job and probably still be a world's contending team. Not necessarily for the championship, but contend to go. Angel, I'm not a big Angel fan, I'm not going to lie. He's good, but he's not a carry. He's not a carry at all, at least in my opinion. Care, I love FPX. Their young team, Care, one of those young players. I thought he did very well after they got Gory out of there. I would hope that FPX would go back with Xiaohu, pick up Eshwan again, go with Care. It would be fun. It'd be great. That's the team I would be, like, excited to watch. Not necessarily because what they do, like, they win or lose. I think that it'd be fun to see how they go. Care, very good player. Strive, young player, I believe, very good. So you're going to go with Strive, Cryin, or Xie. I'm going with Strive, a younger player. If we're down here at the bottom and we're a bottom tier team, we're going to go for a younger player. Why would I want an older player? That probably costs more because of the nameplate. Like, no, let Cryin and Xie, import out if they want to. Shanks, I think Shanks a young player too, not sure. Icon, old. Retire old. Mole, I did not like Mole, and I didn't like Yeg. So, not as people, but as players, at least from what I remember. Bot lane, definitely the shallowest pool. We don't have a lot of names here. There are no openings, technically. Technically, there are no teams in the LPL without a bot laner under contract. So, hypothetically, They could not sign any of these guys and have a player to play in its place that's already under contract. That's not going to happen. I would say there are up to 8 jobs open. Viper. Viper is also in the conversation with Kanavi because the LCK wants Viper as well, that they are the highest paid players in free agency. Whether Viper goes to Damwon, Gen G, or does he stay in the LPL remains to be seen. Jackie Love. Jackie Love brings a lot of fans with him. So that has a lot of value. His nameplate has a lot of value. He's a good player. Really, really good player. Top 5 AD carry in the world, probably in some people's eyes. So he should get a top tier job. It doesn't matter that he entered a couple times. Yes, I did blame him for, people giving Teen a hard time, and I believe that's true. But it doesn't take away the fact that Jackie Love is still better than the vast, vast majority of players in the world at his position. Gala, his KSA is disgusting. Therefore, he can keep having a job. The KSA is disgusting. Light, I thought Light did well at times. LNG were a damn tire fire. So, I don't know who to blame. I mean, Tarzan and Doomby did a lot of int stuff. Tarzan especially. But then at times Tarzan would just show up and play like we expect Tarzan to play. Top lane was a joke with Panda C playing when he shouldn't have been playing. They're going back and forth between Lamau and Iwandi. How does that affect Light? Probably quite a bit. So I would say the top 480 carries, clearly the top 4. Then we get to the next tier. So Kepler, I feel like in the same vein as Xiaolahu, Bechuan, and we're looking at Care, a young player. At least I think Kepler's young. I know he's played a couple splits, but he relatively inexperienced, been on that line of LDL, LPL level. I thought Kepler played very, very well for Thunder Talk. And I thought Puff did as well in his opportunities. But very different. I think Puff's a lot older than Kepler, so different vibes. I would go for Kepler if I want bang for my buck. If you're a middle tier team trying to get that oomph to maybe sneak into a 4 spot, I think Kepler is capable of that. LWX, if you want a veteran player that may be a little past his prime, LWX is that guy. iBoy is as well. At least, I guess I'm talking out of my ass there. I don't know their age, but I know they've played a long time. So we know what they are. Like the growth there is no growth, is what I'm implying. That's what I'm implying, not necessarily that they're old. Eric, I didn't like Eric. I thought Asum took the job outright and should be the starter on LGD. Support as well. So support is even... this is like a kiddie pool. It's like when you think of like champ puddle, support is the puddle for free agency in the LPL. 3 openings, up to 7 jobs up for grabs, and there's probably only 3 players that I would feel confident in signing at support. Ming, Mako, and Lamau. After that, it's a mess. All 3 of those players, obviously Ming and Mako are above Lamau a bit, but you can't go wrong, I think, with any of them. After that, I thought Southwind did well in his looks, but he is older, so maybe he's done. Like I said, I think support after the top 3 is not that promising. Sword Art, also older player. I don't think that he has much left. Shaoxi, I'm not impressed by. Iwandi, I wasn't impressed by. We'll just skip around a bit. So Chow Chow and Cold. Cold is like real. I'm doing some with the project. I'm doing some history research of history of League and League esports, and Cold's been around a very long time, so he's probably at a point now where he's done. And Chow Chow, I didn't think Chow Chow really was all that great alongside Betty. Then we look at Wink and Jin Zhao, 2 80 carries that were put at support this past year. I think Jin Zhao was his first time this year. I've really, really paid attention the last 2 years, but I feel like it was only this year. I may mixed up my years, COVID brain and all that. So, regardless, both are former AD carries in the support role. I know Wink knew to it. I thought Wink did okay. I thought he did okay. And honestly, with the way the meta shifted with Ashe bot lane and stuff, I thought Wink could have really thrived. The opportunity to play AD carry like or APC with Heimerdinger, aggressive supports that deal damage, I think an AD carry could do that job well. And Jin Zhao probably could as well, but LGD stinks. IG also, but IG at least had a little bit more promise to him than LGD, at least in my opinion from the outside. So that's it for my LPL free agency video. Comment down below with what you think. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. There are 3 links in the description. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube member so you can support the channel. This is probably the only video for today. I doubt there's going to be big enough news to do an LOL esports roundup. So this video probably came out in the afternoon. For me. If it didn't, that means some news happened and there will be a roundup later tonight. But that's it. So thank you for watching and I hope you come back for more content.